Hi, my name is Daniel Gregersen, and in this video I will go through how you can use the Figaf tool to take all your Groovy scripts, and iFlows for that matter, create a Git repository with it, create test cases, and then be able to run these test cases on that Groovy script, all from your IDE, making it a lot easier to edit, but also debug the scripts really simple. So that's the goal. Let's see how long time it takes and how many mistakes I'll make along the way. So hopefully I can make this as just one long video, but let's see how easy it will be. Good. So the first thing we will need to do is we will need to go to figaf.com, and then you need to download the DevOps tool. And once you have downloaded it, it is really simple. There's a jar file, you will get a license file, you go to figaf.com ERT, you can download it here, either run with Java 8 or 11. And there's also a video about how you can set it up. There's also longer videos about how to set it up for CPI full end-to-end. So this here we have downloaded it. We have created an agent, so we will be using this this agent here. We haven't created a Git repository for it yet. And what we want to do is we want to create a Git repository where we can put up this this data, and we'll just put in this information here. This is the agent. We'll create a new repository under our user. You want to select it as private because we have seen a few that have tried to use it as public, and then it just gives a few problems. You want to just create a repository README, and that should be it. So now we have created a Git repository on this this branch. And we can use this clone. So we'll take this URL, and now we go to the Figaf tool, we select our agent, and we select enable Git repository. We have this URL, we need to specify a path on our local system where this will run. Branch name, we're normally just using ERT sync for all these information. I will just need to get my username and password and fill it in. And once you've done that, you want to press save. And let's just pause there. Once we have done this we want to click this button that will recreate the repository, and to do this it needs to synchronize all your iFlows and all the content that you have in it, so we know what should be created, and depending on how much you have in the content, this can take a few minutes to run. So I'll just pause while it does this, and then once the iFlow has been synchronized, we will check it out. So now it's synchronized, and we can refresh. And then in our Git repository, we should then see a new branch. There should be a new branch here that's called IRT sync. And in this, we can see all the different iFlows that we have in our file, plus a lot of Git or template files. These gives us some ideas about what's going on. So now we have taken our CPI content, moved it to Figaf tool that has synchronized it, and then moved it to the Git repository. Now we want to use our agent. So we have IntelliJ. I will create a new open recent new from version control. I will use the same Git URL. Let's see, you may need to log in with the token or whatever, so it knows who is actually doing these things. And this window, terminate. So now we have the Git repository. As we can see, there's nothing in it. It's because we're in the wrong branch. So we go into Git, we change the repository, we can select branches up here, and then we select the remote branch and check out the ERT sync. And this one, since our repository is pretty big, I would assume it is fairly big. So it goes fairly quick to do this. So now we need to take all these template files. These contains all the information we need for us to get started. So we will copy. So copy file, copy, and paste. And then we'll just remove the Git repository here. So just a refactor. And we don't want to have this one into the Git repository, because then everybody else would also have this access. And here we have information about which systems to connect to, and this is obviously dependent on your own landscape. We don't want to add that either. So didn't I add it? So here we have the Gradle. Here you would add your S-user and your password for it. And we also need to do the same thing with the Git. That is probably the first one you want to do. We want to add it. In here you can specify if you want to have a specific jars for specific projects into it. And the last one is then the settings Gradle. So if you want to take all of these, create them, and not add this one either. And we can then see our settings Gradle here. We just need to enter our username and password there. I'll just pause it. Okay, so one thing we can do is we can commit this one we have created here. And to do that, we can just say commit file. This is fine, it's the one we want. We say just commit and push, then that way it will spell correctly. And commit and push. Good. Now what we want is we want to create a folder that's called directory that's called libs, and in this we want to create add the what do you call it, the files from SAP. They here in HANA Tools Development in the cloud integration. They have these two downloads, so we will download these two. Yes, and the same for the. Want to keep them, and so these are containing all the interfaces that you need when you're creating scripts. So we'll take these, we'll take it from our downloads folder, and then we will move it to the Git repository. Yes. Now we've added these, and we can decide whether or not we want to add them to the Git repository or not. I think, default they're not, because they are jar files that we ignore. So that is all good. So one of the things that we've added is these Gradle plugins. And Gradle plugins allow us to build data really simple. And I think there is in IntelliJ that should be some that says here import Gradle project, and this project will then see we have this data, and it will, you can see here it's downloading all the Gradle plugin that is needed for this. You may need to download all the Gradle, but it seems like it is just figuring out what to do around this itself. And the thing we have here, and it will build all the thing that is necessary for you to run this this flow and this plugin. we see all the different things, and we have also added some Figaf components to make this easier to run. And if we just go through, so this Gradle plugin contains all the information about what's going on. We got this one with login, and then we got the settings. In the settings, we have defined what are the different projects that we have. And I think also for each project, what are the child objects. And once that has been built and everything like that works, we will then over here have a list of our project and actions on how to run these things. And in here in the sources folder, we also have a lot of setting up and how you set up the CPI tenant and all these relevant instances, so you can see what's going on and how you test the Groovy scripts and stuff like that. So there's normally no implementation of these things, and this is what this adds. So we can see it takes a little while to run to get this done, and we can see now it's built all of these different cool things that we have. And one of the things we have that really is cool is we have here we have our package, and here we have our iFlow, and under the iFlow we have this upload and deploy, and with that we can interact directly with the CPI tenant. So let me show. So here we have our faster package, and we also have value mappings in it, and you can see all version changes going on through this. So here we have our scripts. Let's just make a modification to this. Say it's 80 here, and this is our script that's called header_set_header2. We will save this. We can then upload it, and this will then take this package, fully assemble it, upload it as a draft to the CPI system, and that went on pretty quickly. And you can then go to the CPI system, and you can see we have changed this. So let's go back to the CPI system. And in here we will find the package we are just working on. And if we see it here, we can see that it's in draft mode. And if we open the resources, we can see this header_set_header2. It's now been updated to line number 80. So that's all good. We want to set it up as save as a version. Then just so we can see the full flow, and we'll just want to also just deploy this. That's good. So now we have deployed it. We will then need to synchronize this so we can get the data back to our Git repository and to the user. We have an option here. We can synchronize the specific package. Obviously, it needs to be the right agent. And if you have a lot of large packages, this is definitely the best way to do that. To select the package you want to synchronize, and you can have a synchronization that takes place generally whatever package iFlows. Wasn't this one? I think it was. And then obviously the idea is that we here in our Git repository, or we can actually also should be able to see it up here. If we refresh this, there should be a new commit here. Ignore file. So I guess it didn't fetch the change we just made. Faster CPI. So obviously, it was the infrastructure. It was this one I wanted. So you can see what's going on. We can see we now have a new version and a new version of a script. And if we now look at the commits, and obviously sometime it may take a few seconds for it to be processed. We can see there was an update of this iFlow, and we can then go in and see what was changed. The bundle was changed, and we have added a new parameter for this. So all good. We now have an iFlow, and we can upload it. We can also deploy it from here and download the version if we want to get it faster. One thing, obviously, you can either upload the data from your with the plugin here, but then the version coming back from the Git repository. So sometimes I will just go through and say, okay, Git rollback, and then I'll roll back this change. I'll roll back this iFlow, and I can then pull the data, and with that it will then see that now it has been updated to the version coming from the Git repository. That's good. Now we have a good place we can edit and manage script XSLTs and more. Next thing is we want to be able to test this, because given it is a lot easier to edit something if you know what's going on. So the Figaf tool consists of a testing suite also, and so we'll go to here, we will select this scenario that we have. We can select it here, we can create, we'll select the iFlow, we'll say record messages, we just want one demo, and we'll do the same and add it to a test suite. So normally you will group these things together and manage it with that approach. We'll request a license, that's fine. Good. So now we will record, and when the way we're recording it is it will switch the iFlow into trace mode, and once it's in trace mode, user can then send data into it. Let's see if I can find it. Custom data. So now I'm just sending data on the different screen, and here we can, now that it's been processed, we'll then pull messages, and this will go into the system, download all the individual messages that exist in this, and obviously this can take a little time depending on number of messages that you have in the iFlow, and we can see the detailed status of this. So now we can see it's completed. We got a lot of outbound messages, and we just want to create a test case of this. And obviously there's a lot of values and stuff like that you can go around and create with this. So now we have created our Git data, and what we can do is we can then generate Groovy script based on this, or Groovy test data, and we can add it to the Git repository. Yes, one thing that may be a little challenging here is that we have multiple Git repositories connected on the same virtual agent. So let's see if it will work correctly. So we'll see here, go back to our Git. So we can see there were Groovy scripts added for this, and what we can see here is that it's actually creating a lot of artifacts. So it's creating a template Groovy running for running the different scripts. It contains information about some test data, and the test data then consists of an input message, and the input message has headers, properties, and body, and the output has the same concept. So we are adding all of these different files into the repository. All good. So we will get the latest versions, and we can see it now created this Gradle plugin, and we can see it has test data for these different scripts. So we can see here we have the test data for our global template for running this, and if we can run, for instance, this header 2, and just run it normally, and then it will send this data into the Groovy script. It will ensure that it works, and if not, then it will see how what the differences are. So now it just compiles it and it runs this, and we can see that the test has passed for this. You may need to add Groovy once you're downloading this and want to get it up and running. It will probably prompt you and say, hey, please find a Groovy and install that. But maybe IntelliJ will simplify that process also. So now let's go in, change this back again, or to something else, 90. And we can then add breakpoints. So here you have the option just to click on the line that this will add a breakpoint. And if we then go back to our Groovy scripts, we can specify. So obviously if we just run now without breakpoint, we should see that there was an error because the script is generating data differently than we expected. So we can see there was actually an error in this this case. So that's good. If we want to see what's going on here, we can run with debug mode, and then this will run the code, set it up for debug, and you can see at this point in time what are the data that we have for all of these different values. And in some cases I think you can go in and change this and stuff like that. So this is really powerful to see what's going on, what the document looks like at different point in times. And as you show, it doesn't really require you to do a lot because all of this is delivered as a part of the template. If you want to set up some more advanced scripts, we also have options to do that. And so yes, I hope you found this interesting, and obviously we do hope you want to try out the tool and see what it can do in a lot of other perspectives with regards to your SAP development process. So go check it out at figaf.com/DevOps. The Git repository is currently only available on the on-premise version, but it is really simple to set up and get it to run. But I hope you saw how easy it was to be able to debug your CPI content. So go check it out. Thank you.